Yes, we the people are back once again, and this time I'm using the Constitution's checks and balances, which government must hear, Congress must hear, and has been petitioned. The President, Donald Trump, has been petitioned by the Constitution's checks and balances, of which he refuses to honor. He cannot do this. I'm a veteran of the Vietnam era, serving in the United States Air Force. This is not about Republican, not about Democrat. This is not about getting Trump out of office at all. Gave him 3 chances to honor the Constitution checks and balances. The checks and balances of which he took an oath of office to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution's checks and balances. The checks and balances are a fundamental part of the Constitution. Without the Constitution's checks and balances, there would be no morals and no integrity within the Constitution, and then they do what they're doing right now. Now, as a citizen, all of those constitutional parties to protect the Constitution must unite right now, because at this time, when the President refuses to honor the Constitution checks and balances, which uphold the integrity of the Constitution, that Constitution checks and balances has been petitioned because of abuse of power in the entire judicial branch of government. That includes the United States Supreme Court. That includes United States Attorney General Jefferson Sessions. That includes FBI Director Christopher Wray, who all have refused to honor the Constitution checks and balances to conceal, impose slavery. When we talk about slavery, once again, I know every black citizen must stand up, but the NAACP, Derrick Johnson ain't stood up. So, there goes Uncle Tom Steppenfetcher, or however you want to claim him to be, puppet on the string, however you claim him to be. That is not our avenue. Our avenue is to bring this from the darkness, because they have concealed this, to the light. The Constitution's checks and balances due to corruption in the entire judicial branch of government, which includes the United States Supreme Court. That is unprecedented. Never before in the history has there been evidence of corruption in the United States. And this requires the Constitution's checks and balances. As right here, petition. This from the office of the United States Supreme Court, where they are required to account for the freedom, my freedom, a veteran. All veterans, get ready. That's it right there. Get ready. We're going to stand up on this by a simple fact. We are the very ones. You got those high leaders, 5-star generals, 4-star generals, the President of the United States, who give these orders. But it is we, the airmen, the Marine Corps, the Navy, that do the work. We are the actual ones protecting all Americans' right to freedom, justice, and equality. So when one of us, you deny one of us our right to freedom, we all unite, because you've denied every one of America's right to freedom, justice, and equality. And as I say, the petition requires the judiciary to account for a man's imprisonment. The judiciary, or the justices of the Supreme Court, which must review, must give judgment affirming or reversing a conviction. The petitioner's restraint is in violation of the Constitution and the laws of the United States. The writ's root principle is that government must always be accountable to the judiciary for a man's imprisonment. If you cannot justifiably say why a man is locked up, you gotta let him go. That's what this habeas corpus is about. And that's a power denied government by the United States Supreme Court. When the United States Supreme Court is corrupt, it has abused its power, the appellate court system no longer works. All you judges making decisions right now, however it be good or bad, to the plaintiff or the defendant, has that right to appeal, and they appeal all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And if that court is corrupt, we do not get a fair judgment. And now, having petitioned the Constitution, checks and balances, yes, Congress must hear this. This requires they be checked, and they're refusing to be checked. So that's the Bill of Rights, which no just government on earth can refuse or rest on inference, meaning they cannot delay. They have delayed, and that's the only way they can stop from being caught is to stall. Now, Trey Gowdy, I'm naming big names, Trey Gowdy, Bob Goodlatte, Chairman of the Judiciary, Chairman of the Oversight Committee. Neither one of these men has had the courage to come up and stand up before the House or the Senate and tell them that the judicial branch of government is corrupt. The President of the United States is concealing this from the public. That's obstruction of justice. That's grounds for impeachment. That's a government cover-up. All you gotta do is to go to jeshamiller.simplesite.com and you will see the government cover-up. President Trump has been petitioned 3 times, as I said, as the president-elect, as the president in office, where you can go to wethepeoplewontintegrity.blogspot.com, and he has refused to honor the Constitution, checks and balances. And then you can go to see the petition for action, because you cannot refuse this. You took an oath of office to do this. President Trump, the only way you concealing this now, how do they do this? The framers of the Constitution had to be geniuses, or were they just in reality? How they was going to do this, they hit it with a hammer and a nail. They called it government cannot deny the First Amendment right to freedom of the press in any manner, and neither can the media censor it to prevent it. Those two in cahoots have concealed the judicial branch of government. Now, how serious is this, and the intensity of what it has affected our nation? The NFL players, all y'all listen, Roger Goodell, get a good ear, because you already been sent, mailed, emailed. You got a blog on that too. Provide a platform.simplesite.com. Give me the platform. You see, now the NBA, we got February, Black History Month. They want equality. How do you get equality? Frederick Douglass told us, power concedes to nothing but by demand. How do you demand that? Unprecedented as I've done. A veteran protecting the right to freedom, justice, and equality. Petition the Constitution, checks and balances. That means that's me against the government. Your best, get your best man, the baddest dude you got, all of this schooling, history, in law to face me. Because I only got one coming with me, and that one you don't see. The Creator. As it will be me against him. So why are they running? This is David against Goliath. Modern day on Capitol Hill. All America get ready for this. Y'all gotta be ready for this one. You got the NBA championship. You gotta play for that to win that. You got the Super Bowl. Hey, everybody had New England pick, but Philly came out, whooped that. Whooped that. Now they busted and disgusted. Okay, at the same time, the Cubs, congratulations. 100 years, here they are. They finally win a champ. You got to play for that. For this checks and balances, Congress has got to face me. Congress has got to face me. The Senate, the House, the President, get your best man to face me. Because I can prove abuse of power in the United States Supreme Court with irrefutable evidence, meaning this is impossible for you to deny, because you gotta play for this. You don't get to have that power and just evade that. That violates the code of ethics. You cannot evade the Constitution. It is a fundamental part, as this right here, checks and balances, and why we need that. Without the system of checks and balances, there will be a constant struggle between the President, Congress, and the Supreme Court. It is natural that each part of the government would try to expand their powers. Congress would start making laws that makes it more powerful. The President would use his power of the armed forces to gain influence, and the Supreme Court would cut deals with Congress by using his power to judge court cases. They cut a deal. I'm going to tell you about a cut deal that what they did. This is how they cut the deal. We got a First Amendment right to freedom of the press. And freedom of the press is for us. Yes, we the people. Freedom of speech press. That means the right to freedom of the press. And it enables every citizen, all America, pay attention, because I am here to school you on how to protect your rights. And this is what you do in that First Amendment, freedom of the press. Let's start back here. Yes. Judge Tanya Pratt, while petition, moves the court to enforce a guaranteed right to freedom of the press under the First Amendment that government cannot prevent in any manner, and also order Steve Mnuchin to pay Jesha Miller $200 million for default of due process and slavery. Now, government cover-up. If the government is imposing slavery again, wouldn't that be a government cover-up? Because that's a prohibition, a violation of the 13th Amendment. That's truth. That's a government cover-up. That's a guaranteed right. But this case number right here, Judge Tanya Pratt, in the light of the dismissal of November 13, 2017, dismissal of this action for failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted, plaintiff's pending motions denied as moot. Let's see what you just said. Now, I know y'all heard me, because you got to hear me when I'm talking about $200 million. If $200 million ain't relief, it ain't no lotto. They just won $500 million, $500 million on the lotto. That's relief. When you got money answers all questions. When you ain't got to worry about them bills, that's relief. When you ain't got to worry about corporate, that's relief. When you ain't got to worry about paying medical, that's relief. $200 million is relief. Now, she's saying moot. This is meaning arguable, and ain't nothing arguable about the First Amendment right to freedom of the press. That's to expose. That is the avenue. Once again, pay attention to all citizens. That's the avenue. Once again, Constitution Party, pay attention. That's the avenue of which the citizens hold corrupt officials accountable. You got to bring it from the darkness to the light. Can you see me now? That's what I'm talking about. So when they say it, the history makes it clear that the nature of government to usurp the liberty of the citizens. We the ones they gonna violate. The framers of the Constitution already told us it's gonna be the media and the government. Now, they're being in cahoots. Well, what's the media going to get out of this? What do they get by, let's make a deal. Okay, that's our right to freedom of the press. Now, in this right to freedom of the press, what they do is they make a deal. They make this deal that they have total power as to what they put on. That was a deal made in cahoots. They don't get no deal. That's our First Amendment, the right to freedom of the press to expose the government corruption. So if they make the deal that we got power to put on what we put on, then we will cover y'all and we won't put this on because y'all ain't seen this on. If the United States Supreme Court is corrupt, then that's national news. If the United States Attorney General, Jefferson Sessions, is not protecting rights, you see, their whole thing is supposed to be to secure the rights of we the people. Instead, they violate those rights. When I said what I said, I put it on a blog, checkmate, lay the king down. I named off all the president, United States Attorney General, FBI Director, Trey Gowdy, Bob Goodlatte. I got them named out. Susan Brooks, Chairman of the Ethics Committee. They've been petitioned. I got the faxes and everything for them to come public. They cannot come public because they are concealing the government corruption from the public. I'm just saying. But this right here, Congress, get ready. You gotta face me. Oh, and I keep telling you, Constitution checks and balances. Constitution checks and balances. This that part of the Constitution that you cannot evade. I know Mr. President Donald Trump does what he want to. Come see me. Makes me face me, man to man to man to man. Because I know. I said you had a yellow streak down your back. I said you was running like a chicken. I said those kind of things about you. And you talk bad about all these other people. But you will fall in the round I call. Round one. Humpty Dumpty falls off the wall. Come see me, Mr. President. Because what you doing is grounds for your impeachment. You had 3 times. Not commit all the texts, the emails. Oh yeah, they on your website that you have to do this, and you keep refusing to do this. So Congress, the president, the parties, everybody, and I want to say something. LeBron James, man, Kevin Durant, check your certified mail, man, because it's at the place where you work. Golden State. Check that certified mail, Jesha Miller, Jesha. Get that. Give me a platform. Now, like I said, reason why y'all better check this is you want to stop inequality. You want to stop social injustice. You want to stop police brutality. The checks and balances is how you do it. Frederick Douglass told you power concedes to nothing but by demand. They're not going to stop this unless demanded to do this. And the only way they're going to be demanded to do this is Constitution checks and balances. All America, get ready to see this. David versus Goliath. It's just me. It ain't nobody but me. It's just Jesha Miller. I be David. Government, y'all be Goliath. And the Constitution checks and balances, it's time to get it on. Thank you, America. And I hope all the veterans and all the Americans to stand up for a veteran, to stand up for the Constitution checks and rights, which upholds the integrity of the Constitution. It's time to put me on, because the media, they violated my right by denying my right to freedom of the press to keep this from the public. And the United States Attorney General Jefferson Sessions being petitioned to intervene. The First Amendment right to freedom of the press is a safeguard to the Constitution. How detrimental could this be when you are starting to turn down the safeguards of democracy? So what you got to do is give me that platform. Is we the people versus the government, because as they said, it would be the government which would be the ones that would violate the rights of we the people. And that's how it came out. It said that everybody, each one of them would grab their source of power, and that's what they've done. And as I told you before, the Constitution parties, their whole thing is to make it clear, if left unchecked, it's the nature of government to usurp the liberty of its citizens. And that's what I'm telling you has happened right now. They denying the right to freedom of the press. You see, and the Lord says, the truth will set you free. But to do that, it has to come from the darkness of being concealed in devilment to the light. And then you will see the works of which they are done have been wrong, and the works of which I do to protect our right to freedom, justice, and equality, stop police brutality, is works of the Lord. And that's who I'm bringing with me. I'm not worried about how bad how many your reputation are, how many times you've done that. Let's get it on. This David get Goliath. You gotta play for this. Let's do this. Walter Cronkite checking out. I see you, Walter.